Hello and welcome to our virtual yoga class. My name is Vanessa and I'm here to support you for the rest of the class. We'll begin class by laying on our backs. So take some time to transition there. Noticing that as you transition to lay down on the mat, you are already beginning to practice. Don't mistake our yoga practice as just about the physical movements. It's also about where our mental body is, where our emotional body is. So let's inhale here, exhale, side out. Throughout the class, we'll do our very best to shift our attention to this present moment, to our breath, to support us in assessing as we're working on our flexibility, balance, our strength. We're noticing how our body responds when it's active. We're noticing how our body responds when it's relaxed and passive. Inhale again, optional exhale, side out. It's our breath that's going to build that bridge of the physical, mental, emotional body. Inhale, ribcage and belly expands. Exhale, release. To support you in that mental concentration, start to notice the points in which your body touches the mat. Notice the back of the head, down the spine, down to your heels, those points of contact on the mat. For the rest of class, we're cultivating an inner silence, inner stillness. By no means does this mean you're not supposed to have thoughts. That's a misrepresentation of a meditation practice or a yoga practice. You're cultivating that ability to observe the body and create a little bit more space between you and your thoughts. Noticing that inner stillness, inner silence. As we arrive to this present moment, releasing those to-do lists, tasks, obligations. Let's activate our imagination here by visualizing a breath where we're inhaling through the pores of our skin and exhaling through the pores of our skin, our entire body. Take a comfortable breath, and then we'll start to shift into your full body stretch. Lift your arms up overhead, interlace your fingers. So you can point your toes here, rotate your ankles. You can lift your abdomen up towards the ceiling. That's going to release some compression in the lower back and mid back. You can separate your shoulders, lengthen your elbows, stretch and open from shoulders all the way down to your wrists and palms. This is a gentle activation. Practice that noticing what's sore, what's open, what's tense, where you might like to place some extra focus for the rest of class. Take a moment to assess here. Inhale and exhale. And then we'll continue with this relaxed beginning of class. Let's shift into a butterfly pose. Both soles of the feet touching, your knees are bent. Hands can rest on your belly, chest. Hands can frame your hips, palms up towards the ceiling, or you can lift your arms up overhead, back to the hands on the floor. Elbows are bent before your head is in the center of this diamond. Might be more of an arch to your spine. Your arms are lifted. Here, we're going to take a couple of powerful breaths. Take the biggest inhale and exhale that's available for you. And we'll just try this for a couple of times. It is difficult to maintain deep, long breaths over a long period of time. It actually takes a lot of practice. But right now, our goal is simply to reacquaint ourselves with what that full breath is like. Because as you notice, as I notice throughout the day, I'm not taking full breaths and I forget what that experience is like in my body. Now that full breath allows you to shift to the present moment and connect that physical, mental, emotional body. It's a way of slowing down and practicing the ability to sense the body. And it also feels good. Inhale. Exhale. Your belly has lots of room to expand here. Inhaling. Exhale. And know that throughout your day, throughout your week, you can always go back to your full breath. After you've taken a few breaths, you can let your breath go back to a more regular rhythm, but still remain attentive with the breath, noticing each inhale and exhale. Be purposeful in softening neck and shoulders. Notice that opening here, especially around the hips. Notice if there's any soreness around the knees, and then feet can lightly touch. Another breath or two here. Inhale, exhale. And then start to bring both feet onto the floor. Your knees are bent. Rest that right ankle on top of your left thigh. Leave your right hand between your legs. Interlace your fingers behind that left thigh. We're focusing on that opening around that right hip. Now you can hang in here or bring your thigh closer towards your belly and chest. It can be a subtle movement. Breathe into that boundary. Notice your belly expand. Inhale, exhale. Still remain attentive with the breath. Inhale. And then exhale, release. Feet float off the floor, hands towards knees, round your spine, forehead towards your knee. Drop your head back.
Opposite side, left ankle or shin right on top of that right thigh. Weave your left hand between your legs so that right foot floats off the floor. Hanging in here or bringing your thigh closer towards your chest belly. Remaining attentive with the breath. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Release. Take your hands toward your knees, round your spine, forehead towards your knee, chin towards chest. And then lengthen your legs. Lift your abdomen up towards the ceiling and full body stretch and release. We're going to lift up, flex our feet, lengthen our spine, invite a little bend to our knees and fold. Breathe into your hamstrings, soften your neck and shoulders. Deep belly breath. And release. Bring both soles of the feet together, fold, leading through your chest. Elbows can rest right in the creases of your knees. Inhale. And exhale, release. We'll lift and shift into our tabletop, making sure our hands are beneath our shoulders, knees, hips width distance apart. We're going to inhale into a cow pose and remain there for an extra breath, 2 or 3. So I'm purposely lifting my tailbone. As I'm lifting my tailbone, I'm watching for any tension or compression, soreness in the lower back. I'm pressing through my palms for stability, sliding my shoulders back and opening my chest. Chin is lifted. Hold your cow pose. Seeing how can you deepen a little further into this pose. There's a stretch in the abdomen here. Round your spine, same principle here. Staying here an extra breath, 2 or 3, chin towards chest. Very purposely shifting my chin towards my chest and tucking my tailbone in. And placing some attention on the upper back and mid back, lower back. And release. Start to lift that right leg. It's parallel to the floor. Bend your knees, stack your hips. So as I bend my knee here, I am stretching and opening throughout the quad. I'm also opening and strengthening throughout the glute, opening around the hip. Now round your spine, chin and knee towards chest, hover. Release your knee, opposite side. Lift your left leg, bend your knee, stack your hips. And now knee and chin towards chest, hover. And then release your knee onto the floor, step back into a child's pose, either knees close together towards the edges of your mat. So we're working on our mental concentration here. Let's notice 5 breath cycles. Inhale, exhale. Notice your second breath cycle. And your third, fourth, and fifth. At any point, inhaling, exhaling, sign out. And now start to inch that right hand towards the left corner of your mat so that right elbow will float off the floor. Hold. Let your chest fall towards the mat. And then release. Left hand up towards the right corner of the mat. And then release. Lift up into your downward facing dog. You're in this inversion, press into your palms. Hips are lifted up towards the ceiling. Hold. Invite that full body breath, imagining that you're breathing in through your pores, exhaling through your pores. And now take your gaze between your hands, walk or jump up to that forward fold. Let's inhale halfway up. Exhale, release. Let's lift up to standing, extending through the spine, placing weight on our heels. Noticing left hand press against right hand press against left hand. Hands in front of your chest. Either keep your hands here or release your hands to frame your hips. Either expression works. Eyes closed or open. We'll take a moment to acknowledge this present moment. Inhaling and exhaling for the day we've had. Inhaling and exhaling for this moment. And inhaling and exhaling for the rest of our day. Release your hands. Inhale, lift your arms up overhead, palms up towards the ceiling. Lift your heels halfway or all the way up and hold. Keep your gaze steady. Notice that paradox of subtle movements within stillness. And now release your heels, release your hands, interlace your fingers behind you. Now palms can touch or not. I'm purposely bringing my shoulder blades closer together, taking my gaze up towards the ceiling. Exhale, bend your knees, fold down, elbows lengthen out behind you, soften your neck, your head. Take your hands towards your shins, inhale halfway up. Exhale, release 3 rounds, or 2 more rounds, inhale. Exhale, release, 3rd round, inhale halfway up. Exhale, release, sweep your arms up overhead. We're now going to prepare ourselves to create our own personal rhythm. 3 sun salutations. I'll go ahead and cue, but feel free to move at your own pace. Release your hands. Inhale, arms lift. Exhale, bend your knees. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, release, step back, plank pose. Release down towards the floor. Inhale up. Tops of the feet are on the floor, glutes are engaged. Exhale, downward facing dog. Take your gaze between your hands, walk or jump up to that forward fold. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, release, lengthen your spine as you lift up. Inhale, exhale. Release your hands, arms lift. Exhale, bend your knees, fold down, forward fold. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, release, step back into your plank pose, elbows close to your torso. Exhale, downward facing dog. Take your gaze between your hands, walk or jump up. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, release. Inhale, sweep your arms up overhead. Preparing yourself for your 3rd sun salutation, taking a moment to arrive to this moment. Check in with your breath. Release your hands. Inhale, arms lift. Exhale, fold down, forward fold. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, release, step back, plank pose. Exhale, downward facing dog. Hold that down dog. Lift your left leg, bend your knee, stack your hips, hold. Release your foot back down towards the floor, opposite side. Lift your right leg, bend your knees, stack your hips. Hold. Now release your foot back down towards the floor. And now drop down to your child's pose. Now in our child's pose, we are practicing that mental concentration. See if we can notice 5 breath cycles. Inhale, exhale. Notice a 2nd cycle of breath. 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
And after a breath or two, start to release your child's pose.
In your child's pose, you're gonna lift back up into a tabletop. And now press that left palm onto the mat. Lift your right arm up towards the ceiling. I'm purposely pressing my shoulder back. And now shift down into a needle pose, dropping your right shoulder onto the mat, and then lengthening your left arm up towards the ceiling. Inhale. You can also rest your left hand on your lower back. Release. Opposite side, plant that right palm onto the mat, lift your left arm up towards the ceiling. Now drop that left shoulder onto the mat, lift your right arm up towards the ceiling. Inhale. Exhale. Release your hand. Inhale up, cow and cat pose, just to take care of your lower back, mid back, upper back, just a few times here. Either lingering into an inhale and exhale in the same pose, or flowing with your breath, inhaling cow pose, exhaling cat pose. Few rounds. And then let's start to transition to sit in a cross-legged position. Taking a moment to notice that inner silence and stillness that's been cultivated throughout the class. Return to this present moment, inviting a generous breath. And then start to drop your chin towards your chest, and then roll your head from one shoulder to the next, or making a full circle. Quickly or slowly. Now, if you prefer to work on some meditation, you can bring your head to a point of stillness. And then you can bring your head back to a neutral position. Hands softly on your knees, shoulders up towards your ears. Roll them back 3 times, and then roll them forward 3 times. And then after those rounds, lift your arms up overhead. Palms up towards the ceiling, round your spine, tuck your chin towards your chest. And release. We're gonna come into a strength and balance pose or boat pose before we lay down. So make sure you have room to lay behind you, because from our boat pose, we're going to lengthen our legs and use our core support to release down towards the floor. So palms up towards the ceiling. Know that you can keep your arms lifted, palms up. For extra support, you can always take your hands behind your thighs. Lift your leg. You're going to tilt back a little bit. Imagine that cord helping you find some lift, and then lift your chest. Hold here. Any shaking is fine. You're activating your glutes, your quads. Take a generous breath, and then lengthen your legs, tuck your chin towards your chest, and release. Drop your head onto the mat. Take that full body breath, a generous breath. You can go back to at any time throughout your week. And then bend both knees, both feet float off the floor. Grab your knees with your hands, rock to the left and to the right. And then release your heels, your feet onto the mat. Lift your hips as high as you can up towards the ceiling. You're lifting your abdomen. There's a stretch around your quads. You're activating your quads, includes core. Distribute weight around your heels. There's a lot going on here. The trick here is try to not collapse that lower body. Do your best to imagine that cord helping you find that lift. You want to place some weight on your heels here to support you. Hold. Release. Take a breath. Inhale, exhale. Second round out of 3. Lift. And release. Take a breath. Inhale. Exhale. And then last round, lift up and hold. Release your hips back down towards the floor. Feet float off the mat. Grab your feet with your hands. Start to lengthen both legs, bend both knees. Do one more than the other. You can rock to the left, the right. You want to get this final stretch here. And then you'll start to release your legs and transition into your Savasana, your last resting pose of the class. Do take a moment here to settle into this pose, make any adjustments to be comfortable. This is such an important pose. It's the pose we hold the longest. It's a very intentional practice of integrating your practice, receiving, letting go, balancing the physical, mental, emotional body. Here, we notice the wisdom of being still, doing nothing, slowing down. This is a pose where we can cultivate that appreciation.
With that in mind, the only thing to really be purposeful about is softening your body. It's very surprising that sometimes we'll lay down and we think we're relaxing, but if you really check in with the body, you're still holding on to some tension in the neck, shoulders, or there's like an activeness in the body that does not have to be there. So take a moment to scan your body. Be purposeful in softening forehead, jaw, and neck, down to your shoulders, to your elbows, your wrists, and your fingertips. Soften and release down the spine, upper back, mid back, lower back. Notice your lower body and release around the waist and hips, behind your knees, down to your ankles and toes. Observe any thoughts and sensations, just noticing them. Noticing if judgment arises, just notice. Cultivate that inner stillness, inner silence. Notice it's always there. You just need to shift your attention there.
We'll start to shift our attention back to our breath, inviting a generous and leisurely inhale and exhale, restoring movement to our fingertips and toes. You can invite a full body stretch or turn your body to one side, allowing it to remain heavy and relaxed. Once again, returning to a generous and leisurely breath. And after another breath or two, start to make your way to your seat, whatever is comfortable for you. And once again, place attention to that inner silence, inner spaciousness you've cultivated throughout the class. It invites a sense of renewal, replenishment, sometimes like pushing the restart button for our bodies, our psyches. And notice that spaciousness and that stillness is always there. It's just a matter of placing our attention there. Be appreciative of your practice. Whether sometimes it's challenging or sometimes it's easy. Notice that spectrum. So in honor of our bodies, our breath, our experience, we'll seal the class, taking our hands in front of our heart center. We inhale here and exhale. And in the tradition of yoga, the highest in me sees the highest in you. May we walk with each other in gratitude.